2493. Dialyn! Happy to assist with your request.
Dialyn may be small, but she packs quite the punch, figuratively and literally given her attack animations. She's a limited physical stunner, and out of all the stunners we've gotten so far, she may just be the best at stunning, with ridiculous levels of daze application that can allow for 5 stuns in deadly assault fights. She also has high personal damage contribution, buffs and powers some of the strongest supports in the game, and a unique mechanic, the ability to convert chain attacks to ultimates. I'll be honest, as of her release, Dialyn is the strongest stunner we've gotten so far, being not only an amazing generalist that slots into every single attacker and Rupture team, but one that beats even the niche specialized stunners in their niche. She does all of this while being relatively easy to pick up. The amount of text in her kit is a little intimidating, but this character mostly amounts to build her for 100 crit rate, have her on King of the Summit 4-piece with either a 2-piece with Pecker Electro or Swing Jazz, depending on your crit rate, use Energy Regen D6, then when playing her, use a full set of her 3 EX specials until her bar changes color. Then you stun the enemy, and use her Quick Assist, Chain Attack, or hold basic EX special to convert chains to ultimate. And that's it. Then you just repeat. That's really all you need to know for Dialyn, and I already have a video out that covers her kit in just 7 minutes. So if you want a short breakdown of all the important bits, you can check that one out. Don't mind the 1 hour runtime length, that's for her teams and deadly assault performance. But if you are interested in knowing all the intricacies that lie behind this deceptively simple character, why she needs to be built in certain ways, and even the optimized combos she unlocks for different teams, then let's go through that. Even with all that text in her kit, there's a lot that the game doesn't tell you, and knowing about it might just be the difference between falling short of a kill or getting one. Of course, all of this only matters if you have Dialyn, and if you're like me, then luck might not necessarily have been on your side. So if you do plan on swiping for her, why not get 20% extra? Anything you buy on the Epic Game Store will refund 20% of your purchase in Epic reward funds up until January 8th. So if you spend $100 on Zenless Zone Zero, that's $20 back, which you can spend again on Zenless or any other game in the Epic Game Store. It's also a global promotion and not region restricted. Rather than paying £100 or $132 for max polychromes, you could be paying barely $60 in yen when the rebate is considered. If you do plan on buying games or topping up there, use the creator code LIN-0 when you check out. You don't need this code to get 20% back, but it does go a long way at helping me out, as in connection with Epic Games Supporter Creator Program, I may receive payouts from your in-game purchases. Again, that's LIN-0. With that, you can hopefully get Dialyn regardless of bad luck. So let's get the what Dialyn offers out of the way first. In terms of buffs, she gives a 30% increase to stun damage multipliers, a 2-second extension to stun duration, and a 40% damage bonus to the whole team from her additional. We'll cover her signature engine later, and it's a pretty big deal for Dialyn specifically, as it gives her a lot of Energy Regen when off-field. But it also has the added bonus of giving 30% crit damage to all squad members, further increasing her supporter value. All of this on top of some of the highest personal damage contribution out of all stunners, the highest daze application out of all characters to date, and the meta-defining ultimate conversion. To understand how it works, you want to familiarize yourself with Dialyn's positive reviews, a resource tracked by the gauge under her portrait. She can have up to 120 in total, with 90 being needed for her ultimate conversion. When loading into a fight, Dialyn will start with 60 points stock, and beyond that, there's only 2 ways of building this gauge. The first is passively, at a rate of 0.6 per second while in combat. This is very slow though and isn't all that reliable, as you'd need to wait 2.5 minutes for it to build 90 points. This is where the second, and far more efficient method comes in, her regular EX specials. We'll cover them in detail later, but landing their heavy attack hit will build 7.5 positive reviews. When the gauge does hit 90, it will change color to indicate that the ultimate conversion is good to go, and build a customer complaint point, the glowing dot on the right of the bar. This can be consumed to use an alternate EX special by holding basic attack. If at over 90 positive reviews, when this move triggers a chain attack window, Dialyn will consume 60 positive reviews, and the next character that gets picked will use an ultimate instead of their chain attack. You can also get the ultimate conversion by triggering a chain attack window with her quick assist, and also her own chain attack. It even works if it's initiated by something else, like Astra's ultimate. That's the gist of her system, but we can get more in depth with each individual part of her kit. Normally it'd be worth starting with her additional ability and core passive, but almost all of their effects function as modifications to her other skills, so the best place to start with is actually her EX specials. The vast majority of Dialyn's everything comes from her EX specials. The damage and daze multiplier values on most of her moves are very poor, but EX specials are the exception. You can safely expect 70% of both her damage and daze application to come from them exclusively. The whole character revolves around them. Dialyn's EX specials are split into 2 types. The first is her hold basic EX special, Get Lost, the one from her customer complaint point. It should be observed that she can only store 1 point at a given time. While the primary way of getting a customer complaint point is through building positive reviews, Dialyn also gets it after using her ultimate, regardless of her gauge status. The hold basic EX special has no energy cost, instead using the point up on cast. If it misses, it's still using up that point. How it behaves though depends on how many positive reviews are in stock. Using it when under 90 positive reviews will trigger a reverse quick assist. If used at over 90 positive reviews, then it gains the special property where it can also forcefully trigger a chain attack window regardless of the enemy's state. So even if the enemy isn't stunned, or if there are no chain attack windows left in stun, it still works. The problem is that upon triggering a forced chain attack window, the Hold Basic EX special will consume 90 positive reviews, a fair bit more than the 60 that's normally used. And it is upon trigger a chain attack window, not use the ultimate conversion. So if you do it by accident and cancel, positive reviews are still getting used up. This isn't something that happens with Dialyn's other methods of ultimate conversion, like her chain attack for instance. If you find yourself needing to use it when at over 90 positive reviews, then you can swap out of Dialyn before the attack hits, as no chain attack window is triggered, so no positive reviews are used up. Most of the time, you won't want to rely on the forced chain attack window. It does give the added benefit of being able to get 2 chain attacks on your damage dealer and an ultimate. No need to sacrifice a decibels, anomaly build, and damage from a chain attack to do so. But the added positive reviews cost means that it's not feasible to build it back in time for another stun, so it's best reserved for the very end of runs, when you'd not be able to get another use of it anyways. Or if you desperately need an out-of-stun ultimate, like another stunners to skip or bypass enemy mechanics. And note that the 90 positive reviews cost and consumption on trigger is only on forced chain attack windows. It behaves the same way as other methods on regular chain triggers. This regular and forced distinction is a really big deal if you use manual chain. Since you need to hold basic attack for this EX special, if you keep the button held down by the time it hits an enemy, we will consider it a forced chain trigger. After all, holding basic attack stops regular chains from being triggered by EX specials, so the standard chain trigger is avoided due to manual chain. But this doesn't stop the forced chain trigger, which can lead to situations where you accidentally use up 90 positive reviews instead of 60 because you held the button for too long. So do be careful with it. There's a few more elements to this move. Although it's triggered by holding basic attack, it is an EX special, so that means it still activates drive disc effects, like King of the Summit, and benefits from any EX special related buffs. It also has a Vital View-like effect, which holds enemies in place during its cast. This may seem like a minor thing, but it's very important. Not even ultimates have a proper time stop, and the delay between the cutscene and actual hits can lead to bosses going invulnerable or initiating phase transitions. Dialyn's Hold Basic EX special though has the pause last from cast all the way to the attack landing, being an effective safeguard against such situations. It won't stop fights or stun timers though. It really is just like Vital View in that regard. That's quite a few properties just for one of her EX specials, and it's one you really won't be using all that often given it needs that customer complaint point. The most common EX special you'll be seeing are Dialyn's regular EX specials. They are Rock, Scissors, and Paper. It's only these 3 that build a 7.5 positive reviews per hit. A reminder though, it's on the heavy attack portion of the skill, which for them is on the last hit. If you use a skill but interrupt it before it's landed in full, you'll consume energy but lead to no positive reviews generation, so do be mindful. All 3 regular EX specials cost 25 energy to cast and are part of a set, where one follows another, having ever-increasing damage and days multipliers. If you look at Dialyn's buffs, she'll idle with a fist icon that never takes down. That indicates that the next move in the string is Rock. Once you cast it, it changes to a peace sign. This one does tick down, as Dialyn now has an 8-second window to go into the next skill in the string, Scissors. After using it, it finally changes to an open palm. As before, there's an 8-second window to go into the final skill, Paper. From there, the icon returns to fist and the string resets. There's no need to spend all 3 in rapid succession. Dialyn is completely free to perform any actions between regular EX special casts. She can attack, swap out and back, even use an ultimate, and so long as it's within the 8-second window, the next regular EX special cast will follow the string order. This is actually very useful and something you want to integrate into your game plan. Just about ending a stun and the boss is about to go invulnerable? No problem. After Rock and Scissors, use an ultimate to stagger them, then go into Paper just before they can escape. Heck, sneak in a Hold Basic EX special for good measure too. If 8 seconds expire though, then it all resets back to Rock, so do keep an eye out on those buff timers. Given that each consecutive EX special on the string is stronger than the last, you always want to do this string in full, especially as getting Paper to land on enemies is very important. The 30% stun damage multiplier and 2-second duration increase that Dialyn gives is called Malicious Complaint and is applied by the skill. If Paper isn't used, or worse yet, misses the enemy entirely, that's most of Dialyn's buff offering gone. I do mean most and not all of Dialyn's buffs, because assuming Dialyn's additional ability criteria is met, just using an ultimate or EX special of any kind applies the overwhelmingly positive buff. This is the 40% damage bonus that she provides to the whole team. By default, it has a 15-second duration, which is quite short, but any subsequent use of ultimate or EX specials extends it by 10 seconds if the current duration is under 35 seconds. What this means is that it doesn't cap at 35 seconds, but that as soon as the remaining timer drops beneath that value, skill use would then add 10 seconds to it, leading to it effectively be a 45-second maximum duration. Not that it's something to really worry about, as considering Dialyn is constantly using EX specials, it'll rarely, if ever, fall off in a fight. There's another set of quirks relating to her regular EX specials which takes place when Dialyn's additional ability is active. It needs Attacker or Rupture agents and gives a 50% crit damage increase to all of her EX specials. And the regular EX special string gets even more, with their last hit dealing additional damage based on the preceding agent stats. 320% of attacker's attack, or 400% of Rupture Agent's sheer force. So the team order does matter here. This isn't multiplicative, but additive, kind of how Lucia's HP and harmonies work. So her first regular EX special, Rock, can more than double in damage, whereas her second regular EX special, Scissors, is only a 45% increase. And her last, Paper, is barely over 35%. Which is nice, as it helps even out her damage spread. Even if you only sneak in a Rock cast during a stun period, it's not that much worse than Paper damage-wise. All of this further enhances her personal damage contribution to a team, being at least on par and often exceeding the damage dealt by other high-damage stun agents, like Trigger. Depending on your team, Dialyn's heavy-hitting EX specials means that she can function as almost a sort of sub-DPS rather than just a stunner or support. The last property of Dialyn's regular EX special string is that it unlocks access to an enhanced version of her basic attacks. As previously mentioned, her daze multipliers are generally poor outside of EX specials, and her basic attacks are no exception. Dialyn has a standard 4-part basic attack, and the whole string put together, from start to finish, has about the same daze multiplier as one Sokaku dodge counter. Granted, Dialyn does have more impact, but it doesn't change that her regular basic string is not worth spending time on. Using basics can serve as a filler, but its damage and, most importantly, energy generation is just as bad as it stays. In fact, for how long it takes, if you have Dialyn's signature Wenjin, you get almost as much energy by having her sit off-field doing nothing than by doing the entire string. The only quote-unquote good move is her basic 4, if we can even call it that. It still has 4 damage and daze, but it alone makes up almost half of all the energy generation in the string, granting 2.3 energy. Dialyn can shortcut into it off her dodge counter, quick assist follow-up, chain attack, and her ultimate, so it's good to sneak one in after these. She can also do so after the 4th hit of her enhanced basic attack, which takes us back once again to her EX specials. After using Rock or Scissors, Dialyn can animation cancel their recovery frames with her basic attack. These don't lead to normal basics, but to enhanced variants. Doing so after Rock leads to enhanced basics 1 and 2, which themselves can be followed by Dialyn's regular basics 3 and 4. Doing it after Scissors leads to enhanced basics 3 and 4, after which it can link into her regular basic 4. These enhanced basic attacks are significantly better than her regular ones, having almost double the damage and energy generation and 45% more days, all the while being a lot faster. If you make use of the regular basic 4 link after the enhanced basic 4, then even better. Even then, if you were to look at the days per second that doing the animation cancels into these enhanced basic attack strings gets you compared to just spamming EX specials, it's barely any better. What's important about these isn't their days though, but the energy generation that they provide. Given how dysfunctional Dialyn is as a character when she's forced to on-field without any energy to EX special, being efficient in its build-up is key to her game plan. In a lot of comps, and especially if Dialyn doesn't have her signature engine, she can struggle in having enough resources. By weaving in these enhanced basic attacks between EX specials, it does mean she has more field time, but that time is spent productively generating energy. As each enhanced basic is tied to the EX special used, you can mess around with combinations. Rock into enhanced basics 1 and 2, then regular basics 3 and 4, followed by Scissors to enhanced basics 3 and 4, and another regular basic 4. Or skip the first ring altogether, going to Rock, Scissors, and just enhanced basics 3 and 4 into a regular basic 4 to just about get the energy needed for Paper. Doing a strict Rock 1-2, Scissors 3-4 into a regular basic 4 string is the most performative for resource build, but the best choice will rarely follow this. Most often, cutting out the regular basic 4 at the end works out better. It's all situational. If you're in need of a little extra energy to fit in a full string, go for it. But if the priority is a quick stun, then you can forego the basics altogether and focus on the X specials for days. I should point out that enhanced basics 3 and 4 are fully invulnerable, so always safe to use, but the same is not true for enhanced basics 1 and 2, so do keep an eye out for enemy attacks. We are now, at last, free of EX specials. Not like that's a particularly good thing, as Dialyn's dodges are rather unremarkable. The dash attack has some of the worst stat spreads in the whole game. I would say it's never worth using, but it does have a neat little property. It travels far. If you want to start a fight quickly, dash attacks are the way to go. It also has a ridiculously long lock-on range. It takes genuine effort to miss this thing, so if needing a fast gap closer, it's a decent option. Her dodge counter is actually fine. It isn't great, it isn't terrible, and has a decently wide range, and as mentioned before, shortcuts into her basic 4, but there won't be many opportunities to use it as Dialyn is often off-field. Which is a good segue to her assists, as there's plenty of opportunities to get them. Her quick assist is unremarkable, generally bad stat spread and not really worth using, but it is one of the ways in which Dialyn gets her ultimate conversion. If you happen to run an Astra team, it's an easy way to trigger a chain attack window without needing to spend a customer complaint point or use Dialyn's chain attack, but this is usually suboptimal, so not all that useful. As for Dialyn's assist follow-up, it does also seem unremarkable at first. It just does days, I suppose. I guess it can shortcut to her basic 4, but turns out that it's one of the strongest assist follow-ups, and has a few non-standard behaviors that's worth knowing about. In regards to stats, it has the highest days multiplier out of all stunner assist follow-ups in the game, beating out even triggers. Admittedly, it is also as long as triggers, being among the slowest in the game. And I do mean it. It is slow. So much so that bosses can queue actions and phase transition in the time that it takes for Dialyn to complete it. Its range is also poor, so if you're expecting that it will kill marionette clones or group up enemies, you're out of luck. Worse yet, against mobile enemies, it will often miss. Dialyn doesn't retarget mid-cast, so if a boss moves out of the way, too bad, it isn't landing. All of these seem like bad things, so why is it good? First is how it integrates into Dialyn's playstyle. She is not an on-field stunner, and even if you're trying to extend her field time with enhanced basic attacks, after she's done, it's better to have her sit off-field and regen energy with her signature. Even without it, you still want to do that. In fact, it's arguably even more important to do so precisely because of this assist follow-up. It's one of the few moves she has with competitive days multipliers, so in routes any quick days build, getting as many uses of the skill between EX special casts is pretty important. For example, pushing 8 stuns on Hugo has periods where speeding through is critical, but especially if not using her signature, she can struggle having enough energy to sustain enough EX special casts for so many stuns. The same is true for 5-stun routes and other characters, but even with her signature she can lag behind in days required to make the tight thresholds. At times like these, making use of her assist follow-up then is a big help, interspersing it between bouts of EX specials and enhanced basic attacks to bring her into the fray. But we're not done yet, because this assist follow-up has its heavy attack proc be offset. What I mean by this is that normally this assist follow-up is very slow. Regardless of its days build value, it takes a lot of time. For characters with similarly long assists, like Trigger, this is a real problem. On Wandering Hunter, for example, her assist follow-up is so long that it causes wavering stacks to drop before characters get their full combos out, being a significant damage loss. Try it with Dialyn, and it turns out that she doesn't have this issue. You might notice that when using an assist follow-up, she will trigger a chain attack window long before the attack is over. You can change to another character and she'll still be on field. This is because the heavy attack portion of the skill happens long before it ends, which means that when it matters most, like pushing for a quick stun and working around buff timers, this assist follow-up can be incredibly fast. It isn't all sunshine and rainbows, and it can cause issues, so it's important to be mindful of it. Even with auto chain turned on, since the heavy attack lands before the final hit of the skill, there can be moments where it will just about stun enemies but not trigger a chain attack window, as it was only after the heavy attack that the enemy went into stun. You'd think this wouldn't be all that common an occurrence, but trust me, it can happen often, so be ready with a special or EX cast for a chain trigger just in case. As for her chains and ultimates, they're fine. Her chain attack isn't fast, but it isn't all that slow either. It's not really worth using it for damage, but as it's one of the ways in which Dialyn can trigger her ultimate conversion, it's likely to see a fair bit of use. It has some nice anomaly and decibel build which can be taken into account when formulating routes, as it can help align resources over the course of a run. As for her ultimate, it has by far the lowest days multiplier out of all stunners. Even if you were to boost it by 40%, it still wouldn't be enough to do more than Lycan's ultimate. Its hitbox is also a little wonky. Dialyn will dash forwards before going into the attack, so if you're too close to small-bodied enemies, she can dash too far and just miss entirely. So by itself, the ultimate isn't very good, but remember, it's one of the ways in which she can build a customer complaint point. Although its own multipliers are poor, that of her hold basic EX special isn't. By weaving in her regular EX specials with her ultimate and spending the customer complaint point it generates, you can get a lot of days in a very short period. And as mentioned before, it's one of the ways in which Dialyn can apply or refresh the overwhelmingly positive damage bonus if her additional ability is active, helping maintain its full uptime. Talking about her additional ability, we should go through it. Again, it's activated on either an attacker or rupture agent is in the team. There isn't anything left to cover though, as we've already gone through its effects as part of her previous skills, like the overwhelmingly positive buff. It also deals with the crit damage increase to her EX special attacks and the inherited attack or sheer force additional damage values to her regular EX special string. Fundamentally, Dialyn works without her additional ability active. It has no barrier on her ultimate conversion, stand damage multiplier, an extension, or even days build. However, not having it up means losing out on not just her noteworthy personal damage contribution, but a team-wide 40% damage bonus. While I'm sure some anomaly agents with strong ultimates like Yanagi could be used with Dialyn, I'd advise against it. For all of her strength, she is decidedly a character for attackers and rupture agents. As for her core passive, we've already gone through most of it. It predominantly deals with her unique resources and ultimate conversion, namely positive reviews, its gain rate, cap, ultimate conversion cost, and the skills that trigger it. Behaviors like her hold basic EX specials force chain trigger, her ultimate stocking of the customer complaint point, and even the link mechanism for her regular EX specials are all here. None of these change regardless of her core passive level, but the malicious complaint debuff, in particular the stun damage multiplier from landing paper, does. Leveling her core passive increases her damage multiplier, but it also has one more effect that gets better the more you level it, and it sits at the heart of Dialyn's builds. For every point of initial crit rate Dialyn has above 50, she gains 2 flat combat impact, maxing out at 100 extra impact with that 100% crit rate. Almost every stunner in the game has impact as their core skill enhancement stat. The only exceptions to this are Jifufu and Dialyn, both of which get crit rate instead. Since Dialyn has 110 impact at base, this means that even without any impact percent gains, she's sitting at 210 impact due to her core passive. With them, she'd be sitting at 156 base and 256 in combat without relying on effects like placing lowest combat percent increase. That sounds impressive, but there's a few problems. First, her passive skills with her initial crit rate, that being the one you see on her stat sheet before a fight. Any bonuses from buffs or drive this stats won't count. Without using a crit rate main stat engine, hitting 100% is going to be very difficult. It's not impossible, but even if you do manage it, impact percent gains on engines and drive discs aren't all that desirable. All impact percent bonuses are applied to Dialyn's base impact, not her combat impact. If I equip her with an impact percent d6, 2p shock star, and an S rank impact engine, Dialyn goes from 110 to 156, a 46-point increase. With the same on Lighter, and he goes from 137 to 194, that's 57 points. This is even worse when you consider combat percent impact gains. Think of it in terms of stat saturation. Even if Dialyn has 210 impact in combat, almost half of that comes strictly from her core passive. A 10% increase on impact isn't giving her 21, it's giving her 11. Daze percent, however, is being applied to everything. It's a separate multiplier. The 27% daze that Dialyn's signature engine provides is a 27% increase to everything she does. Well, there's a little saturation there with the 6% from 2p King of the Summit, but close enough. In practice, this means that even when using impact percent d6, 2p shock star, and a fully charged Hellfire gears, I get 25 days on a VR Thanatos. With no impact percent d6, no 2p shock star, and using Dialyn's signature engine, a crit rate main stat weapon, I was getting 30 instead. What I'm getting at here is that although impact can increase Dialyn's stun speed, it is so severely saturated by her core passive that it's not really worth building. The end result is that when picking drive discs for Dialyn, impact d6 ends up being a daze loss. I've said it plenty of times, but it really can't be stressed enough. Dialyn's daze multipliers are not good outside of her EX specials, and I guess for assist follow-up. Even then, as previously mentioned, you can expect 70% of all her daze build to come solely from EX specials. What this means is that the more EX specials she gets in a fight, the more daze she builds. And from my experience, there wasn't a single run where using impact percent kept up with energy regen on d6. It isn't even just a matter of days, since the vast majority of positive reviews build comes from EX special use, having an energy regen d6 is borderline mandatory for some routes and characters. Having enough in stock to get an ultimate every stun when pushing for 5 stuns in a fight is going to be a struggle without energy regen. And if you're playing her with Hugo, well, energy isn't only for positive reviews, but so that Dialyn can apply her malicious complaint debuff. When there's 8 stuns in a fight, she's striding water as is trying to get full regular EX special strings in time, even with energy regen d6 and 2p swing jazz. So her build ends up being quite straightforward. Crit rate on d4, as otherwise good luck hitting that 100% crit rate requirement. Attack percent, physical damage bonus, or pen percent on d5, in that order. Her damage can be ridiculously good depending on how you build her, but don't sweat the main stat too much. And lastly, energy regen on d6. The only exception to this would be in very particular high investment speedruns, and even then, these are still the likely best choices, so it's safe to build for them. 4-piece is easy, just use King of the Summit. Dialyn has more than enough crit rate to activate its buff, its 2-piece bonus is daze percent, so that's great, and given both the low cost of her regular EX specials and the fact that the two most common ways to act as a roadmap conversion, namely her hold basic EX special and chain attack, activate the 4-piece effect, it's a no-brainer. 2-piece does vary. If you aren't at 100% crit rate, Woodpecker Electro is a safe bet. It'd be more impact than a Shockstar 2-piece. The 6% crit rate that it gives translates to 12 impact from core, whereas Shockstar 6% would amount to just a little over half of that. If you are at 100% crit rate, then a 2-piece energy regen set like Swing Jazz or Moonlight Lullaby would be ideal. Although I actually found 2-piece energy regen sets even better than Woodpecker regardless of not being at 100% crit rate. On my no signature M2 Hugo kill, I had a lot of difficulty sustaining the necessary resource generation without it, so it may just be a best pick generally, but it is rather run dependent. 2-piece Shockstar can be used if at 100% crit rate, but you likely get more days out of a 2-piece energy regen set, honestly. Yesterday causes Dialyn's signature engine, and she's in a weird spot. It's not as if she does badly without it, but having it is such a benefit to her that I'd recommend it over any Mindscape. It provides 1.5 energy per second when Dialyn is off-field, increases her days dealt after using X specials by 9% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 3 times for 27% days total, and provides 30% crit damage to the whole squad for 40 seconds when the day stacks are capped. It's hard to understate how significant this is to her. It's got a crit rate main stat, so hitting 100% with it is trivial, and the energy regen it gives is probably the most important bit, being critical for high-level routes. It makes it much easier to stay on your damage dealers and not lose out on resources. When considering how bad Dialyn is at on-fielding when out of energy, this matters a lot. For characters that like their field time, it's a world of difference to play with and without it. And even for those that don't, it's not as if keeping Dialyn on for a long time is giving her all that many resources. With her days being loaded on assist follow-ups outside of EX specials, it's actually better to have her sit off-field anyways and then defensive assist her in. It's a win-win. I take it there's no need to explain why the up to 27% days increase is such a big deal, and with it providing 30% crit damage to the squad, it's the strongest Lighter signature, except it applies to every element. There are some gameplay adaptations that need to be made, not just in the keep Dialyn off field camp, but when she's out and about too. The 30% crit damage bonus lasts for 40 seconds, and this is fully refreshed whenever the 3 stack limit for the days increase is hit, so it will have full uptime in fights. That cannot be said for staying at that 3 stack limit, as it only lasts 10 seconds. It is refreshed in full whenever an EX special is used, hold basic variant included, but if not already at 3, that's building them again from scratch. It's also only gained on dealing damage, so it's not possible to pre-stack it either. Remember this, as in certain situations like before using an ultimate, it's worth building up a few stacks beforehand. Overall, Yesterday Calls is pretty important to get the most out of Dialyn, but it isn't necessary. She does have alternatives. Hellfire Gears also provides off-field energy regen. It may be less than half as much as Yesterday Calls, but it's workable. As Dialyn's EX specials are being used frequently, maintaining the impact percent bonus from this is done rather easily. It has the same buff duration as the days boost from her signature, so it's used in much the same way, although be mindful that stacks on Hellfire Gears are calculated separately as opposed to refreshed. Even at P1, I'd say this is her best alternative, and it's the one I had the most success with in my own attempts. As good as Dialyn's signature Wenjin is, I could still get kills on Marinette relatively easily on Yixuan and Yidhari by using Hellfire Gears, so it's a solid option. The craftable alternative would be Steam Oven. Its energy regen main stat is very useful, and it's going to outpace Hellfire Gears in terms of resource build. It's the equivalent of 0.6 energy per second, but at all times. Problem is that it's very tricky to use well. For it to match the impact bonus a Hellfire Gears provides with just its main stat, Dialyn has to stay at over 60 energy. The extra energy it gives isn't enough to make this easy, as it's constantly getting used up on EX specials. Even if its bonus lasts for 8 seconds after EX use, just 25 energy spent would take 10 seconds for Dialyn to build it back up passively. That sounds fine, especially as enhanced basic attacks go a long way at making up for this, but they alone aren't going to be enough for the 75 energy she runs through in one full regular EX special string. So routes need to be adjusted to juggle Dialyn's current energy levels without overcapping, while still getting enough users of her reactors to build positive reviews in time for stuns. Even if you manage to do all of this, it'll be less days in Hellfire Gears for a small amount of extra energy. Considering Dialyn doesn't need to be on-field all that often, I find this is only worth using if Hellfire Gears isn't available. I wouldn't recommend Fossilized Core, even though it does have the benefit of providing days percent as part of its Wenjin effect. The complete lack of energy regen makes it unwieldy to use in actual fights, doubly so in short encounters like Shield Defense or high-scoring Deadly Assault runs. The same resource management issue rears its head even on other limited S-rank Wenjins. Blazing Laurel's raw impact gains on quick and perfect assists do help it keep up in days, but again, no energy regen. It has a use case on Fire and Ice teams due to its crit damage buff, so it can be worth using, and it's not all that difficult to upkeep it by making use of enhanced basic attacks, but it does need some bespoke routing to accommodate an energy-starved Dialyn. Fufu's signature gives 28 days percent into EX specials, chain attacks, and ultimates, so that's great, but then remember it has an attack percent main stat. If it isn't giving crit rate, then it at least needs to give impact to make up for the loss. There's even Spectral Gaze, which does give crit rate, but no impact, days, or energy gains. In summary, Dialyn's signature is considerably better than any alternative. But Hellfire Gears can hold out at times, especially if at higher phase levels. Other Wenjins, even these limited S-rank ones, are usable but not recommended. When choosing which skills to level, core passive is, as with almost every character, going to be the priority. A through to E gives crit rate, so more impact, and every level increases the crit to impact conversion ratio and the stun damage multiplier. After that, EX special. I trust there's no need for me to explain why at this point. Following that, chain and ultimate. It's important for quick bursts of days and should be using her chain attack and stun often enough. An assist and basic attack. Which to focus on is somewhat fight dependent. Assists can provide more days but rely on the enemy AI. With how often basic attacks are used, they can keep up. Both in equal measure is a safe bet. Dodge can be left at 1, as Dialyn won't have enough opportunities to use it. Before going to combos, understanding the stun extension mechanic can open up a lot of options depending on your team and investment level. It's EX special paper that applies the extension, but it doesn't need to be done in stun. Just landing it before stun has the malicious complaint debuff set, and it has no time limit, expiring only when the enemy recovers from stun. Worst case, you can apply it mid-stun with the damage multiplier and extension still taking place. In fact, when it comes to the stun extension, having it come on mid-stun can even be optimal at times. Maybe not Dialyn's, but other characters'. Its description states, the stun duration bonus does not stack with similar effects. This is indeed true. If Lighter applies this collapse debuff on enemies, that extends their stun duration by 3 seconds. Then when Dialyn applies malicious complaint, that extends their stun duration by 2 seconds. The end result isn't a 5-second stun duration, but a 3-second one. It doesn't matter the order in which they are applied, the longer pause will win out. That is, unless these effects are staggered. If Dialyn applies a stun extension before an enemy is stunned, the effect takes place at the very start. Once it's expired, well, there's nothing left to stack. This means that if you swap to Lighter, then apply his collapse after Dialyn's stun extension has come and gone, you can benefit from both increases. Not like that's anything new. Yixuan's M2 and Lattice Collapse have worked the same way since 2.0, but we haven't had any other similar effects since then. And just in case you're wondering, yes, Dialyn's stun extension does work with Yixuan's M2, leading to disgustingly unbalanced combos. I should point out that extension stacking never works with itself. Landing paper again on enemies after the extension expires will not give an extra increase, but it can absolutely stack with other effects if timed correctly. It isn't always worth doing, mind you. You can, on a Hugo team, benefit from Dialyn's stun extension during his first chain attack and apply Collapse just before his totalized lands to get the full benefit. The really technical among you, or perhaps more accurately those who watch my Hugo guide, may wonder, is this even necessary? Would the extensions not stack in the same way that stun recalcs do for him? Sorry to report that nope. Getting a mid-stun extension will lead to higher damage totalizers than having both applied pre-stun. Applying both before stun and going into Hugo chain and EX totalize gives around 7.33 million. But avoid Lattice Collapse before the stun and apply it just before totalized lands? 7.74 million. So why wouldn't it be worth doing? Reapplying Collapse on Ladder without spending his morale resets his impact buff and refreshes his fire damage bonus buff value, significantly lowering it as a result. Whatever gains there are to be had from stacking extensions are lost due to the weaker buff. Unless, of course, you have Lattice P5 engine, in which case it's always maxed out, so stack the more you want. Or Yixuan's M2, which, assuming you combo correctly, needs little to no adjustments to get maximum value out of stacking extensions. Another important bit of information worth knowing about for combos is how ornament conversions interact with chains. Normally, when you use a chain attack, you are not able to chain attack with that character again. For a full set of triple chains, it has to be character 1, then character 2, then character 3. There is a way to do double chains on one character, and the game even has a tutorial for it. The problem is that doing this means giving up on a chain attack. You do character 1, cancel, then character 1 again. It is still optimal to do this for many teams, like Evelyn, whose chain attack is so strong that it's better to take the loss in decibels from cancelling a chain in exchange. The problem is that at first, it's awkward to do so with Dialyn. You could do an Evelyn chain attack, then make use of Dialyn's quick assist to trigger another chain attack window and get her ornament conversion that way. A quote-unquote double chain, but with one being an ornament. Good luck getting her quick assist mid-combo without Astra though, and even then, that need energy that won't always align. You can always use her hold basic EX special for this instead, which would be far more reliable, but now all of its stasis being wasted, which isn't ideal. But what if I told you that it's possible to get the best of both worlds, and in fact, have even more benefits on top? The secret lies with how ornament conversions interact with chain attacks. Normally, using Dialyn's chain attack isn't a great way to get an ornament conversion. After all, if you're using it, you aren't able to double chain with your main damage dealer. If you open with it and do an ornament conversion, well, you can't pick the character you just used. And if you start with your damage dealer's chain, then go to Dialyn's, you can't go back to your damage dealer as you've already used their chain attack. The secret then is to not use their chain attack. At first, that is. By shifting her hold basic EX special to the start, you can get an ornament conversion to take over the first chain attack. That always triggers another chain attack window, as ornament heavies cannot be bypassed with manual chain. From there, a second character's chain is used, like Dialyn's. The end result? The next chain attack window has no bang boo and instead lets you go back to your first character. The reason is that the game does not see the ornament conversion as a chain attack, so it doesn't lock the character out of using it. There's multiple benefits to this too. It allows for the use of hold basic EX special in the out of stun period, so there's no effective days loss. Since there's no need to cancel out of a character's chain attack, that means still getting 2 chains per stun even with the ornament conversion, which is a really big deal for decibel generation. In fact, some routes with Dialyn can rely on the anomaly buildup from her chain attack to get enough assaults, and the occasional disorder for decibel alignment. And the best part is that this leads to ultimate use at the very start of a stun, better enabling the Puffer Electro set. It ensures that its combat attack buff isn't missed out on the chain attack that follows, which wouldn't be the case with a late ultimate conversion. Doing this isn't always ideal. Yixuan, for example, still gets more value out of using a chain trigger attack and making use of Dialyn's chain attack for ultimate conversion. And others, like Corin, may struggle having time in combos while still repositioning for back attacks. But in the aggregate, it's going to make up the core of most combo routes. So let's, at last, go through combos for every attacker and Rupture Agent. Not every combo for every character, but just some templates to help you get started. Astra is a mainstay in a lot of these teams, and where possible, combos will make use of her ultimate chain conversion. It isn't realistic to have this ready for every stun, but if not, it's just a matter of falling back to their pre-Dialyn combos after, with EXs, basic strings, and whatever is most optimal to fill for time. I should point out that some of these can be optimized further, so there's room for improvement. I'll look to call out and make any observations on these. Yixuan's combo is rather straightforward, but can be somewhat tight in its execution. As per usual, open with a Cloud Shaper and make use of her Talisman ornament for a chain trigger attack. Here you want to wait as long as possible before going into Dialyn's chain. After Dialyn's chain is over, again, wait as long as possible. The cue you're looking for is for the enemy to flinch, which indicates that they've been hit by Yixuan's ornament. Although, really, don't look for the flinch and just delay your inputs always. After all these waits, go into Yixuan's chain, which is then upgraded into an ornament. There's one more chain left, but just cancel this one and go into another Yixuan ultimate, this time from her decibels. If you have the adrenaline for it, shortcut to Auric Array before going into one last set of Cloud Shapers to finish things off. Yidhari's combo is also no different from her standard one, just gotta be sure that Dialyn is the one triggering her second chain with the hold basic EX special for the ultimate conversion. As a refresher, make sure to be near Captain Adrenaline and be at or below 25% HP on Yidhari and go into her chain attack. From there, cancel and make use of her stun bear and special cast to go into her enhanced EX special. While she does that, take the opportunity to refresh Moonlight Lullaby on her support, then swap to Dialyn and, if you can afford it, a single rock use for a bit of damage and to help align with timings. That's because if you hold basic attack right after rock, it'll be perfectly timed to trigger a chain just as Yidhari lands. After that, it's double ultimates, the first from Dialyn's ultimate conversion and the second from Yidhari's stock decibels, after which the combo proceeds as normal, fitting in one more enhanced EX special cast and a charge smash into basic 3. Even if the stun opens with Dialyn's assist follow-up, the wavering buff on Wandering Hunter should last until the end of the enhanced EX special. As for Hugo, do we really need to cover this? Like, I guess, open Stun of Lycan if you've got him for the stun damage multiply increase and go into Hugo's chain attack to activate his buff. After that, cancel and go into Dialyn's hold basic EX special to activate his ultimate. At M0, that's kind of it, combo over. At M2, a Hugo EX special follows for a double totalize. Evelyn's combo is quite strict in terms of timing. While it is possible to get everything in with a 2-second extension, it's far less lenient than lighter. And before we go on to the combo, since I know this will be asked, it's not worth it to use Dialyn's ultimate conversion on Astra. Even with a late combo start, where most of the first point's chain damage lands completely out of stun, there isn't enough time to fit in all those chains, not even close. Which means that you're not just losing out on Evelyn Ultimate's ridiculous damage multiplier, but you aren't even getting anything extra for it. It's fun, but sadly, not any good. As for the one you should try to go for, Evelyn needs to be maxed out on burning tether points and have at least 50% of her burning embers filled. Try getting a quick assist before stun to refresh Astra's buff, then go straight into a points chain. This has to be done before stun begins, else there won't be enough time. As soon as you can, swap to Dialyn and use rock. This is important because it's only when the stun bar turns rainbow that the enemy's stun damage multiplier increases, so we want to begin the stun right after to minimize the damage loss from starting the points chain out of stun. This also helps sync things up. Like with Yidhari, holding basic attack after leads to a near perfectly timed chain trigger, which is then used for an ultimate conversion on Evelyn. While doing another character's chain here would yield more decibels, there's no time to do so, so cancel and go into Evelyn's enhanced basic attack for a burning tether point. Immediately swap to Dialyn for a special, EX special, or quick assist, anything that can trigger another chain fast, which takes us back to Evelyn. As soon as that's done, ultimate, building another tether point that can be used for a points chain. This is an opportunity to swap to Astra for her ultimate. If you do the hold basic attack input to exit from Astra's ultimate casting animation, it won't be fast enough, so this does necessitate some more advanced decks. I'll look to cover this in more detail in the future, but in short, do dodge, special, dodge, and swap, all in rapid succession, shortly after the last hit of Astra's ultimate lands. That lets you quickly exit Idyllic Cadenza and go into Evelyn's chain. After that, either an enhanced basic attack or EX special to do some damage while swapping back to Astra into a hard cast special for a quick assist prompt and one last Evelyn chain, landing right before the stun ends. As for Yuan, 3 shot shells and about 3/4 of her energy are plenty. Nicole offers comparable, if not greater gains than Astra, so a combo with her would begin with Nicole's EX for her Death Shred, and the Dialyn's Hold Basic EX special for an ultimate conversion to Yuan. Nicole's chain is fast and reapplies her Death Shred, so use that, then back for a Yuan chain. That's 6 shot shells from the start, so she should be maxed out. Do a full unload of shot shells with the side input, then end on an EX special before swapping to Nicole for an ultimate. Quick assist back to Yuan into her own ultimate, then into another shot shell string with a side input, leading to one more swap to Nicole, but for her EX special this time. After quick assisting to Yuan, use her EX special and finish up the combo with one last shot shell string with side input. Seed, surprisingly, still manages double ultimates with quite some leniency. There's no need to be particular with her steel charge as a result. As usual, open with a full channeling of her EX special into her punch, then downfall. Swapping quickly to Dialyn for a chain trigger with Rock lets you squeeze in an Orphie chain in the stun combo. Otherwise, swapping to Orphie for an EX is fine too. Whatever it is you do, go into Dialyn's chain attack, then ultimate conversion on Seed. As we haven't really made use of any Vanguard EX specials or Seed's chain attack, there isn't enough steel charge for downfall, but no worries. Ideally, Orphie would have applied Zeroed In just before the combo started, but if not, there's time to refresh it with a quick heat charge cast. Regardless of whether it's used here, go into her ultimate, which gives a quick assist back to Seed that's immediately interrupted with another ultimate cast. Now there's enough steel charge to go into downfall, and with Dialyn's stun duration extension, more than enough time to get it off. SAnby isn't all that different from her usual route. If you can, use Orphie's heat charge as soon as stun begins to get in a bit of extra damage and quick assist into SAnby. Follow with 3 casts of special, and just as Boundary begins casting, swap to Dialyn for her Hold Basic EX special. The ultimate conversion there is used on SAnby, and here we have plenty of time to fit in an Orphie chain, then return to SAnby through her chain attack. Another 3 casts of special, and again, swap out as Boundary begins casting, this time to Orphie for her ultimate. Wait a tiny bit for Boundary to land, then quick assist to SAnby and interrupt the animation with ultimate. From there, it's another 3 casts of special, into Boundary, into an EX special, and if you have M1 as I do, a cheeky Boundary hit, ending on one last set of 3 specials. Everything should land in stun, Boundary included, but if you have M1, then you still get Thunder Smite to fit, just that Boundary overflows. Harumasa's combos are even easier to do now, as Dialyn's stun extension means there's not much of an opportunity to use his chain trigger attack while sustaining quiver generation, so it's skipped altogether. Not like he's any worse, as if anything he gets almost as many, if not as many, dash attacks as before. All he needs is quivers on field and about 3/4 energy. Use Nicole's EX for Death Shred and hold just a tiny bit, then a quick swap for Harumasa's own EX into 3 dash attacks, a named shot, then another 4 dash attacks. Swap to Dialyn for her Hold Basic EX special with an ultimate conversion to Harumasa, just about landing his ultimate during Nicole's debuff window. Back to Nicole to reapply her debuffs, then to Harumasa for his chain attack and to set up some quivers. Here's where setup changes things. If you can line up a shock anomaly here, it's straight to dash attacks. Otherwise, keep holding down basic or special for a shot transition. It's unlikely that anomalies will line up though, as now that he's the only electric character in the team, it's much harder to build. I suppose it could work with Nicole applying corruption through her chain attack. Either way, 4 dash attacks follow, 3 if from anomaly, into an EX special. While it casts, swap to Nicole for an ultimate, then quick assist to Harumasa and interrupt the animation with another ultimate. A quick tame shot into 4 dash attacks with enough time for 1 more shot and a dash attack. Assuming anomalies, it'd just be 3 dash attacks into an aimed shot, then another 4 dash attacks. Manato was straightforward before and not much changes with Dialyn, only that he has more damage now. Right before stun begins, try to get a defensive assist into assist follow-ups to restore Blazing Heart, consume his HP for Gorilla Wisp, and build M6 buff stacks. This also helps build some adrenaline as you want to have enough for his EX special. If it ends just before stun, that's fine. Go into his EX and swap to Dialyn and use Rock to start the stun before the bulk of his damage hits. As with many others before, this syncs up timing so that a hold basic EX special after will land right as Manato has gotten all of his damage out, after which it's an ultimate conversion back to him. Honestly, this isn't ideal as Yunquiteos isn't maxed out, but I found that making use of Dialyn's chain tended to work out better on non-physical resistant enemies like Marinette, as her damage isn't bad and the resource generation it provided helped. After her chain, it's back to Manato's own chain. Rather than going into his ultimate right away, use special to fit in assist follow-ups to refresh M6 stacks, and then end on his ultimate. Dialyn's stun extension is so excessive that even then there's still time to fit in another special and come out of stun with more assist follow-ups. Alan's up next, but really from here onwards it's more of an Astra section as most combos will follow similar routing. You want anywhere from 2 to 4 flash freeze charges depending on whether you're using Deep Sea Visitor or not. It's a simple opener, just go straight into Dialyn's hold basic X special to start the stun, onto Ellen through the ultimate conversion. Astra's chain is decently fast and can help build decibels for her ultimate, so go into it, then back to Ellen for another chain attack. If you have Deep Sea Visitor, one singular basic attack to refresh it, then Ellen's decibel ultimate. Once that's done, either EX special or basics 1 through to 3. And just as Ellen begins to cast Icy Blade, swap to Astra for her ultimate. No need for fancy cancel attacks here as there isn't enough time in stun, so use a quick assist as soon as Ellen's Icy Blade is out for a chain attack. That's the end of the combo, but if the enemy gets frozen, that's an opportunity for an EX special to close things off. Soldier 11 should only be using this comp if she has Heartstring Nocturne, otherwise a ladder team will outperform. But if you are, then it starts with Dialyn's hold basic EX special to open stun into Soldier 11's ultimate via conversion. As with Evelyn, Astra's chain is fast so worth using, after which it's back to Soldier 11 for a chain attack. Then go straight to ultimate and if there's enough energy in stock, as soon as it's over make use of Soldier 11's EX special to get some extra damage in while swapping to Astra for her ultimate. If you've got the fast cancel down, then use that. But unlike Evelyn, it shouldn't be necessary to get everything in, so whatever gets you out of Idyllic Cadenza works. A quick assist chain back to Soldier 11 follows into a cheeky regular special cast just to get some damage while swapping back to Astra for a hard cast special, and one more quick assist chain before stun ends. As for Corin, all she needs is enough energy to cast an EX special. The opener is a standard steel cushion one, with a swap to Astra as soon as the enemy is stunned so that she can reposition for a back attack. There isn't enough time to go for Dialyn's hold basic EX special, so let Astra trigger a chain attack and pick Dialyn, who then goes to Corin for an ultimate conversion. Honestly, at this point it's fine to go into Astra's chain, then quick assist back to Corin for an ultimate if that spells allow, but otherwise you can cancel and go for as much charge on EX special as you can afford. As it's about to end, swap to Astra for her ultimate. No time for double chains, so going to a quick assist chain back to Corin is enough. At which point there should hopefully be enough time on Decibels to get an ultimate in before stun is over. Nekomata will want as much energy going into this as possible, as it's feasible to get double ultimates, chains, and triple EX specials. The opener is almost a standard for Steel Cushion. Swap to Astra as the enemy gets stunned to reposition, but go into a quick assist to refresh Nekomata's cool passive. Immediately swap to Dialyn for her hold basic EX special, which should be landing right as stun recalc ends for an ultimate conversion to Nekomata. Going to Astra's chain for its speed, then back to Nekomata chain. By this point, the 6-second cool buff duration is going to be expiring soon, so use an EX special on Nekomata, then swap to Astra to get a refresh on it via a quick assist, which itself is animation cancelled to the Nekomata Decibel ultimate cast. The moment it ends, link into an EX special and back to Astra again, this time for an ultimate. Nekomata's attacks are all plenty fast, so there's no need for fancy cancels, just do what you need to exit Idyllic Cadenza and go back to Nekomata for a quick assist chain. Hopefully you have had enough energy stocked by this point, as it's an opportunity to get an EX special in before swapping to Astra one last time for the final chain, ending the combo with time to spare. As for Billy, you only need a bit over 3/4 or so of his energy field, but isn't really all that necessary as only one EX special and stun gets crouching shot buffs. I should add that this combo kind of works with the same Steel Cushion routing that was used in Nekomata, the usual stun into Astra into quick assist into Dialyn's hold basic EX special. The problem is that unless you get it perfectly timed as stun recalc ends, the final few shots of Billy's chain attack at the end won't land. That's fine though, as if you're using Steel Cushion, it's far more damage to get back attacks on everything and have barely 10% of a chain attack land out of stun. Regardless of whether or not Steel Cushion is in play, the combo is the same. Open the Dialyn's hold basic EX special for an ultimate conversion into Billy, then into an Astra chain, and back to Billy. As soon as the chain attack is over, begin doing basic attacks with the directional hold, as we want to be in crouching shot state before another ultimate. As soon as he enters, use his ultimate, and as Billy retains the crouching state, go into an EX after it for full bonuses. Immediately swap to Astra and go into her ultimate. Due to Billy's rather long chain attack animations, it is important to use the advanced dodge special dodge tech on Astra, else there won't be enough time. From there, it's business as usual. Quick assist chain on Billy, into a cheeky EX special if you can fit it in, then swap to Astra for a hard cast special and one more quick assist chain, being just about enough to land everything in. That is, unless you set up for back attacks as mentioned before. Anton is about as simple as it gets. Just be in burst mode and with, I don't know, like 20 energy before stun, maybe a little more. Open stun with Dialyn's hold basic EX special for an ultimate conversion to Anton. From there, it's Astra chain, then back to Anton chain, which can have its recovery cancelled by linking right into his ultimate. Once it ends, press special for explosive throw, and while he casts it, swap to Astra and use her ultimate. There should be enough leeway so as to not need fancy cancels, but always worth doing just in case. Either way, it's quick assist chain back to Anton into one more special cast and Astra swap for the last chain attack, which should all fit in before stun finishes. I wasn't expecting Dialyn to take this long, as she's not all that complex a character when you get down to it. Just that there's lots of little things here and there that can influence how she plays. And it doesn't help that she's either the best or tied for best for all 16 attacker and rupture agents. That's enough words from me though. There's far too many as is. But if you do want more words, maybe not for Dialyn but for future characters, then why not like, share, subscribe and ring the bell? I've got more videos coming. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.